Hey y'all, it's me. It's Random Joy or Joy Randomly coming to you again. It's Sunday morning. It's Sunday morning. It's Sunday morning, September 15th, 2024. It's 3:18 p.m. I just think you should know what time I'm starting this and what date I'm starting this because numbers matter. I'll tell you why I think numbers matter. Numbers matter because they're a system of measurement. Dates and times matter because they could be the difference between guilty and not guilty. Okay. And as I say that in reflection to all the things that I've been thinking about this morning, y'all, I've been a little stressed. Skressed. Just thinking about all the things I witnessed and all the things that I didn't know how to articulate what was going on. And this would have been while I was at work at my last position. And I was kind of thinking about like, what's next? What's next? I want this to be next. What I'm doing right now. I want this to be next. I want this to open doors. I want this to uh, force me to not hide. And I'm trying. I'm trying. I really am. The first thing I want to talk about, is just what's going on in the world. That's how I start my day on videos. Uh, okay. So there was a guy that I just discovered on Sunday morning. That show on CBS Sunday morning, and that guy said that he was silent for 17 years. Okay, 17 years he did not talk to anyone. While the reporter was asking him, just more about his story, he said, I do gotta acknowledge that there were a few times where I bumped into somebody at a store and I said, "Excuse me," but he was like, even in those moments, it was like, just like, whoops, and went back to complete silence. And he did that from, I think he said age 27, 26, all the way to his 40. He's now married with children. I don't know if he got married with children in that vow of silence. I don't know how that would have worked. I should have watched the whole video. But I know that I was just thinking about that and I was talking to my man about that because um vows of silence have been special to me. The late great Dr. Maya Angelou took a vow of silence after being traumatized, after being raped by a family friend. And I remember when I was a child, I took a vow of silence that I didn't even know I was taking. I don't remember like the reason why, but I just remember like my sister telling me like they was about to send you up the river, girl. They ain't know what was going on. I had to beg you, please, at least talk to me if you ain't gonna talk to nobody else. And so that's when I started talking again. So I'm definitely like I know vows of silence be real. Um, my man was saying he didn't believe it because he's like, he had to be talking to somebody, otherwise he would have lost his language skills. And so I'm like, well, yes and no. And my man made a joke like maybe he was just talking to himself the whole time. That could be true too. Um, I know that we talked about what it looks like when somebody is silent, not by choice. And we talked about how silent, like the people in the world that I know about that were silent due to their trauma, uh, and how maybe then you lose your language skills because let's just create an ugly scene. You're kidnapped. There's no one to talk to. You're in this dungeon, and after 17 plus years of having no one else to talk to, I think that would be then what he said with losing your language skills and not being able to talk anymore. But if it's a choice, it's a choice. It's a choice. So that was my opinion. That was his. But that was something that was really interesting that I came across this morning. The other part that I came across this morning is I came across this little sign, I guess if you will, and it said moms need a break, and it said going to work is not a break, going to the store is not a break, running errands is not a break. I agree with all of that. I agree with all of that. I agree so much that I can remember times where I was arguing with a previous partner about not getting the rest that I feel like I need. And previous partner would have been my ex-husband. I remember telling him like, The only time I feel like I get a break is when I'm in the hospital. And this was during the era when, my health was just like, one victory uh, followed behind a couple more smaller trials that I had to fix in order to keep that victory sound. And so, yeah, I was in the hospital, in and out of the hospital quite a bit during this time area when we were having this conversation. And I each time I got out the hospital, like I didn't come home and rest. Like I came home and went back to work, or I came home and went back to parenting full time, or I came home and went back to parenting and caring for my father. Like I did not sit down. Okay. And if you know anything about being in the hospital, that is not the place to rest. That's the place to get you stable so that you can go home or the next step and recover. Okay. So I used to be exhausted if I had to like put any words on it. I used to be completely exhausted, like, and seeing this morning, I couldn't help but be like, yes, mamas do need breaks. Like moms that are cooking, cleaning, cleaning up messes, changing clothes because the clothes got a stain on them. Especially if you have pets, and then all of the other things that go along with raising children, schoolwork and la 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 la. That's my way of saying all that other And I'm just like, the ability to rest is so far and few between. Like, if you don't have a partner that can be the chaperone while you dip off and rest, or if you don't have that type of partnership, or if you don't have anybody that's like a constant or consistent babysitter or something like that, it can be really hard to find time just for you as a mother. And that is something that has made me cry before. That is something that I've been angry about before. That is something that I have like talked to other friends who are moms about before, and friends that are not mothers, because those that had a hand in raising their siblings, they know to some extent what it feels like to come home from school or work and not be done. And it's exhausting. It's tiring. It's rewarding. But sometimes mama just want to go to sleep. Sometimes babies get sick at times where mama was not feeling so well at you know at that time as well. And we don't get to say no. I remember during the last week of work for me, um, I was already tired. I was tired because I was like pedal to the metal at work, like making sure that I rounded out as much as I could for my justice involved individuals so that the next probation officer would be able to pick up where I left off in a nice place. And this was already hard just based on the dynamic of the job and what had been going on. But also with me leaving, I'm like, you know, it's got to be in the system so that you know what happened. I can't just say this, So I was doing a lot. I was still seeing clients. Plus, I was backlogging stuff from when I was out, and then trying to get the current stuff in, and it was just so much. But during that time, the last week, one of my baby girls got sick. And she was up in the middle of the night sick, like wake up early sick in the middle of the night. She couldn't sleep. She was in pain. She had some stomach issues going on. I made her some ginger tea. I sat with her. We talked. I kind of, weighed it out. Is this going to be a stay home from school sick? Yes, it's going to be if it's up in the middle of the night. But, like when you have to go to work, you like factoring in all of that. Like, okay, what is this going to look like if the baby need to stay home? Da, da, da. So she ended up staying home, and thankfully, uh, my partner was able to actually off that day. I think either he was off or he was able to stay home. I don't know, but da 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 da. Long story short, on that, that's an example of how mothering doesn't produce any breaks unless you have that support system. And I didn't always have him, and the ex-husband that I had, um, he had his own things going on and he had his own wants and wishes. And so, you know, quite frankly, he wasn't trying to hear it when I would be like, I'm tired, especially during my era of being a stay-at-home mom. That's your job. What do you mean you tired? I still gotta go to work, like, and to an extent, after becoming a working mom, I do understand where he was coming from somewhat. But then the other side of that is that sucked to be me in that moment. So, that got me to thinking. That got me to thinking about all of that. Like, wow, I am a mother, that knows that this is true. Mothers need break. Going to work is not a break. Going to the store is not a break. Running errands is not a break. Okay. And none of that is a break. We need a real sit down. Ain't nobody knocking on the door. Ain't nobody texting. Ain't nobody calling. Whatever you time looks like for you, that's what mothers need regularly. It needs to be a part of their self care. So that was one thing. And then the other thing I saw today, I saw this man. He posted a picture, and he was holding a sign. The sign said, "I'm constantly torn between I can't let this illness ruin my life, and I have to listen to my body and rest." That was so, oh my God. If I haven't been there in that space where I'm considering that at least 80% of the time that I'm working, or 80% of the time that I'm trying to do other efforts, like that, as a person who has survived so many medical issues, it's always in the back of my head. It's always, and I'll take it a step further. Sometimes it's in the back of of my head. Am I tired because I'm sick? Do I need more than just rest? And that's scary too, because I got a family. I got people that love me. I got people that depend on me, to multiple extents. And there's no reversing that. I can't put my son back in my belly, So, I don't get to be like, I don't feel well, so no parenting for me for that. That just doesn't work. What does work now is having a great partner and being able to rely on, what he notices about me, what I notice about him, and kind of being able to fill a gap. What also works is that our children are older now, so not so much hands-on as we used to be. And that helps. But still, let me pull that back up. Still constantly torn between I can't let this illness ruin my life and I have to listen to my body and rest. I'm not trying to lay down and die, but I'm also not trying to be stretched so thin that I'm not paying attention to myself and I don't discern when it's time to sit down. Uh, that's kind of a part of why it was time for me to semi-retire. Because so much energy and effort from me was going into that position and to the people that I was serving because I truly care about everybody. And I realized while working in this particular location just how bad the PTSD is for people who have gone through the criminal justice system. I mean, from the date of the arrest to the time they get to my desk as their probation officer, some of them have been through so much. And this morning, as I was reflecting on it, I also started crying for myself because I was thinking, here I am, feeling a level of post traumatic stress, you know, as I consider my role and how much I try to do to not be a part of the stigma, but how that stigma is a part of why I needed to leave. Um, my man, he was listening to one of the YouTubes where they analyze like the police call and what happened, and the arrest, and then the results. And I used to be really into those things, like even prior to working in law enforcement. I just loved it. Like I loved, um, let's see, just to see type of shows, medical dramas, real ID stories. Like that was kind of like my thing. And I had been feeling this recently a lot where I was like, I just, when I get off work, I don't want to hear no police calls, no, and I had kind of been communicating that. But this morning was the first time that I had like a physiological response to hearing that. And it was just literally just a video, of them exploring what was going on with the arrest. And then I believe they showed parts of the sentencing, and the judge was reading like you are now a felon, you cannot have any guns, da, 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 da. These are the conditions of your probation. And as she was reading, I could hear myself and see myself at my desk reading the sentencing order and explaining line by line the new conditions of my person's life and how I was going to help them and work together with them to make sure that they achieve this and accomplish closing out their probation successfully. That was always part of my skill. But while listening to her read it and having heard like the prior stuff, like the arrests, like I got triggered knowing that I was an outlier. Like I was a unicorn. And my clients would tell me this often. This is not just me tooting my horn or patting myself on the back. My clients would tell me, your kindness is so different from, what we had up until now. And even the clients that came from other offices in that office that were transferred for me, it's not that they had bad officers. It's just those officers were doing the job the way they had to do it for themselves. And sometimes, because my client may have had such a hard time during their arrest and their sentencing and their jail time and da 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 da, I believe that just clashed. And so because I know those people outside of like because I work with them, I'm not on probation with them. I could attest to the fact that no, she really is kind, or no, she really, you know, but I also wasn't gonna make no excuses. If you shared something with me, I'm gonna, take it in. And it changed me. It changed my brain. It literally changed my brain, and I know it did because now look, I'm listening to YouTubes about crimes and following it through to court and sentencing, and I'm like, oh my God, I hope they didn't mistreat that person. Even if they did do it, I hope they didn't mistreat that person. But I'm pretty sure they probably did. So that long drawn out spiel was just something that was on my mind. Oh my gosh, it was on my mind. Like this morning, I was kind of, I ain't gonna say a wreck, but I was just like emotional and thankful, but at the same time, like I can't not do anything about the bad parts. And how am I gonna address it? I don't know. I really don't know. But what I do know is that I'm gonna keep all of my clients in my prayers. Thankfully, some of them I was able to, like we were able to end probation before my resignation. Oh, thank God. But the ones that still have time left, like just praying. I'm praying, okay? I'm praying that they are gonna be under a good enough care, that maybe I got them started off well enough that they can keep that momentum and just get finished regardless of what may happen from the new officer. I did try to hurry up and explain to them, like as I was giving my goodbyes, you know, every officer runs a ship. How they run their ship is how they run their ship. It may be different over there than where it was with me. Please kindly accept and respect that. Don't challenge it by saying Officer JoJo used to do this because that's gonna piss them off even more, quite frankly. Like I tried to, help as much as I could. But this morning I was over here wrecked. I was mm, too much evilness in the world, and there's too many people supporting it so that they don't end up in a position like mine where everybody is like, she's the bad part. Only ever been bad in my life, ever, literally. I've only ever gotten in trouble when I was telling on people. I'm gonna just put it like that. Even when I was a kid, I get in trouble. I never got in trouble unless I was telling on somebody. That's that, and then my son is a carbon copy of that. Like, and I battle with that because I be like, if he's not feeling comfortable and he wants to let you know, then he should be able to, because it's the silencing of the complaints that cause more trauma and allow the prospective or potential or current abuser to flourish. So tell, like I would rather you just tell and then I'll be like, babe, actually, or okay, I'm gonna fix this. But yeah, that's the only time I ever got in trouble is when I started telling. And that's not bad. People don't like to be told on. I'm gonna just put it like that. But honey, you're not gonna mess up these people's life. You're not about to mess up these people's life. You're not about to make it harder for them. And you damn sure not about to make it seem like I tried to do either of those things. So we started this video talking about dates and times are important to me because they're the difference between guilty and not guilty. That's something that working in law enforcement taught me to the utmost extent that, sometimes it's better to have something on record first and, be ready for the blowout when a person who was targeting you realizes that you got something on record first. So, but anyway, I think this is a good enough video for today. I don't know. This is day number next. It's randomly me, randomly Joy. I hope wherever you are, wherever you're receiving this, you're having a great day, great week, great year. I hope you continue to have positive experience with your friends and your family. I hope you feel protected and loved. I hope if you aren't in that space that you have someone to talk to about it. And I just really, really hope and pray that if ever you can, that you support the truth at all times and that you help the fight, even if it's in a small way in your opinion. Help that be better. The generations that are coming after us experience better. That's all I got to say. Y'all have a good day. Share, comment, subscribe, or don't. It's still gonna be here. Post it at this time. Record it at this moment. My part of the story. My part of my truth. Y'all have a great day.